I still remember the way she said it. Calm. Cold. Like she'd been rehearsing it all day. "You're sleeping in the garage tonight," she said, without even looking up from her phone. I thought she was joking. I laughed. But she didn't. Then she added, "My real boyfriend is coming over." That's when my smile died. For a moment, I couldn't even speak. My mind just froze. The woman I married, the one I trusted with everything, was standing in front of me telling me I was being replaced, in my own home. I waited for her to laugh, to say it was some stupid prank. But her expression didn't change. She looked at me like I was an inconvenience. Like she wanted me gone. I didn't argue. Didn't scream. Didn't even ask why. I just stared for a few seconds, then grabbed my keys from the counter. The silence was suffocating, heavy and sharp, like it was cutting through my chest. When I stepped outside, I could hear her humming a tune as she walked back into the bedroom. That was the part that broke me. Not the words. Not the betrayal. The humming, carefree, like none of this meant anything. I got in my car and drove. I didn't even know where I was going. Just away. The city lights blurred through the windshield. My hands were gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I ended up at a hotel off the highway. Cheap, dimly lit, smelled like cigarettes and lost hope. I didn't care. I just needed somewhere to think. When I checked in, the guy at the front desk didn't even look up. He slid me the keycard like I was invisible. Maybe I was. Inside the room, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. The sound of the old air conditioner was the only thing keeping me sane. Everything inside me wanted to scream. But instead, I just sat there, motionless. Because deep down, I wasn't shocked. Somewhere, a part of me had known this was coming. She'd been distant for months. Late nights, with friends. Her phone always flipped screen down. That fake smile when I asked if everything was okay. I thought it was just stress. Or maybe she was tired of me. I never imagined it was another man. But when she said those words, "My real boyfriend is coming over," it all made sense. Still, hearing it out loud, that's something you don't forget. It was around 11 p.m. when I finally turned off my phone and tried to sleep. But my mind wouldn't shut up. Every memory of her, every laugh, every touch, turned sour in my head. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to my phone buzzing violently on the nightstand. The screen lit up with notification after notification. 52 missed calls. All from her. Then came the message. "Please come back. He saw your photo and Googled your name and left. Who the heck are you?" I stared at the text for a long time, my heart pounding. She sounded terrified. Confused. Like she just realized she'd made a mistake, a big one. But the funny thing? I wasn't surprised. Because the truth was, she had no idea who I really was. You see, when we met, I didn't tell her everything. Not because I was hiding something evil, but because I wanted to know what it was like to be loved for me, not for what I had. So I lived simple. Drove a regular car. Worked a quiet job that didn't attract attention. She never asked too many questions. Maybe she didn't care enough to. But I had a life before her. A life that wasn't as ordinary as she thought. And the man she brought into our home? The one who ran away after searching my name? He found out exactly what she didn't know. I didn't reply. I just watched the phone light up again and again. The more I ignored her, the more desperate she became. Another text popped up. "Please, I didn't mean it. I was drunk, stupid, whatever. Just come home." I almost laughed. She wasn't drunk when she told me to sleep in the garage. She was clear, confident, almost proud of herself. I could still hear her voice echoing in my head. My real boyfriend. Like I was some placeholder. Some mistake she regretted. I wasn't going back. Not yet. Around sunrise, I went for a drive. The city was quiet, too quiet. I stopped at a diner, got black coffee, and sat by the window. The world outside looked normal, but my world was burning. I replayed everything in my head. The last few months. The arguments. The excuses. How she stopped saying, "I love you." How she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. I wasn't just betrayed, I was humiliated. And now, she wanted me back because her little secret went sideways. That's when something inside me shifted. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was calm, ice-cold calm. The kind that comes right before a storm. By noon, she was calling again. This time, she left a voicemail. Her voice was trembling. "Please answer. I messed up. He saw something online about you, and now he's scared. He said he doesn't want to get involved in anything dangerous. What's going on? What did he see?" I smirked. Dangerous, huh? That's what he thought? If only she knew. I decided to drive back. Not because I missed her, but because I wanted to see how far she'd go. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked smaller. Maybe because the illusion had shattered. She was standing at the door, eyes red and swollen. The moment she saw me, she ran up, crying. "I'm sorry," she said, gripping my arm. "I didn't mean it. Please, just listen." I didn't say a word. I just walked past her into the house. The air smelled like cheap perfume and guilt. I glanced at the table, 2 wine glasses, one still half full. She noticed my stare and quickly picked it up. "He left," she said quietly. "Right after he saw your picture on my phone. He said your name was familiar, and then he freaked out." I turned to her. "Did he say why?" She hesitated. "No. Just that he didn't want to get caught up in something." "What's going on? Who are you?" I almost told her. Almost. But instead, I just smiled and said, "You'll find out soon." She followed me as I walked through the house, babbling excuses, that it was just a mistake, that she was lonely, that it didn't mean anything. I stopped at the garage door. The same garage she told me to sleep in. I looked at her and said, "You're right. Someone should sleep in there tonight. But it won't be me." Her face went pale. "What do you mean?" "You'll see." I left the house again, leaving her standing there in silence. For the next few days, I didn't answer her calls. But I kept track. She started texting me constantly, begging, apologizing, even threatening to leave if I didn't respond. Funny how the one who cheated starts acting like the victim when their plan falls apart. She didn't understand that I wasn't ignoring her out of anger, I was planning something. Something she'd never see coming. Because here's the thing. I wasn't some nobody she could walk over. Before I met her, I was involved in a business most people only hear whispers about. A network. Quiet, powerful, invisible to the public eye. Let's just say we handled problems for people who paid a lot to make them disappear, legally, of course. Mostly. That man she brought into our home? He wasn't just some random boyfriend. He was a wannabe player with ties to people who'd been on our radar for years. When he Googled my name, he realized exactly who he'd just crossed. And he ran. But she had no idea what kind of danger she'd brought to her doorstep. I could have exposed everything, but I wanted to watch her realize it piece by piece. Every secret has a price, and hers was about to come due. A few nights later, she finally showed up at the hotel. I heard the knock and knew immediately it was her. When I opened the door, she looked broken. Hair messy, eyes red, voice shaking. "Please," she whispered. "Just talk to me. Tell me what's happening." I leaned against the doorframe. "You really want to know?" She nodded. I looked her straight in the eye. "The man you brought into our home, he works for someone I've been investigating for months." Her face froze. "Investigating? What are you talking about?" "You're an accountant." I smiled faintly. "That's what I wanted you to believe." She took a step back. "So what are you?" "Someone who doesn't like being betrayed." The silence after that was heavier than any argument we'd ever had. She looked like she wanted to run, but curiosity pinned her in place. Finally, she whispered, "What are you going to do?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and showed her something. A photo of her and her boyfriend sitting in the restaurant last week. Another photo, them kissing in our living room. And another, him meeting someone in a black car outside her gym. Her lips trembled. You were watching me?" "I was protecting you," I said coldly. "Until you made that impossible." She started crying again, saying she didn't know, that she was sorry. But her tears didn't move me. Not anymore. When someone betrays you, it's not just about the act. It's about how easily they did it, how natural it felt to them. And that's what haunted me most. I told her to go home. That I needed space. She begged to stay, but I didn't let her in. As she walked away, I could see the fear settling in. Not of me, but of what she didn't understand. She finally realized she'd been living with a stranger. A stranger who knew far more than she ever would. That night, I stood by the window, staring out at the city lights again. Everything felt different. I'd lost her, or maybe, I'd never really had her in the first place. But something told me this story wasn't over. Because people like her don't just disappear quietly. And the man she cheated with? He wasn't going to stay gone for long. I knew he'd come back, not for her, but for me. Because when he Googled my name, he didn't just find out who I was. He found out what I had. And that meant one thing: the next time he showed up, it wouldn't be for love. It would be for payback. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that look of shock when she realized she had no idea who I really was. The city outside my window glowed faintly under a haze of fog. It was quiet. Too quiet. That kind of silence you only hear before something bad happens. I could feel it, the shift in the air. The calm before the storm. The next morning, I checked the security feeds from the house. Yes, I still had access. She never figured out the hidden system. At 7:42 a.m., a car pulled into the driveway. Not hers. It was him. Her real boyfriend. He got out, looked around, then walked straight to the door. She opened it fast, like she'd been waiting all night. The footage had no sound, but I could see the panic in her movements. She was talking fast, pointing at her phone, showing him something, maybe my photo again. He looked furious. Then, suddenly, he slammed his hand against the wall, yelling. I zoomed in on his face. And that's when I recognized him. He wasn't just a random guy. He used to work for a man named Cardenas, one of the people my network had quietly dismantled 2 years ago. A money launderer. Arms deals. Extortion. When that empire fell, most of his crew disappeared underground. But apparently, one of them resurfaced, in my house. So that's why he ran when he saw my name. Because in his world, my name wasn't just familiar, it was a warning. I watched the feed for another minute. He stormed out, got into his car, and peeled off. But something told me it wasn't over. I called a contact, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Need a favor, I said simply. Track a car. Black Audi, plates I'm sending now. There was a pause. Then, got it. You want him brought in? Not yet, I said. Just eyes. By noon, I was back near the house. I parked a few blocks away and waited. I didn't go in. I wanted to see how she'd react when she realized I was watching again. At 2 p.m., she stepped out. Same clothes as yesterday. Eyes swollen, moving like a ghost. She looked broken, but I wasn't sure if it was from guilt or fear. I followed her at a distance. She drove aimlessly for a while, then stopped at a park. She sat on a bench, staring at her phone for almost half an hour. Then she made a call. I couldn't hear the words, but I recognized the face that appeared when I zoomed in. The same man. She was still talking to him. Still trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. By evening, she finally went home. Lights on. Curtains closed. And then, around midnight, movement. My security feed lit up again, this time from the side window. A figure in black creeping toward the back door. It wasn't her. It was him. He slipped inside like he'd done it before. Maybe he had. A few minutes later, I saw her walk into the living room, terrified. She tried to tell him to leave, but he grabbed her arm. That was my cue. I called my contact. Now, I said. By the time I got to the house, the black car was already gone. 2 SUVs were parked near the curb, my people. The lights inside flickered through the curtains, faint and uneasy. When I stepped in, she was sitting on the couch, trembling. She looked up, and for the first time, I saw real fear, not of me, but of what she'd just been through. He was here, she whispered. He said he needed money. That you ruined his life. I nodded slowly. He's not wrong. What does he mean? She asked. What did you do? I sat down across from her. I ended the business he worked for. Shut them down. Legally. But they lost everything. And now he's after you? I shook my head. No. He's after you. Because he thinks you're leverage. Her face drained of color. Leverage? He saw your photo on my phone. He knows you're my weakness. She covered her mouth, eyes wide. Oh my God. Don't worry, I said coldly. He won't get close again. There was a long silence. Then she whispered, what are you going to do to him? I looked her dead in the eye. The same thing I should have done to anyone who touched what's mine. She stood up fast. You're scaring me. I laughed quietly. You should be scared, but not of me. She didn't understand that in my world, betrayal wasn't emotional. It was strategic. And she had just made herself a liability. I wasn't going to hurt her. But I needed her to see the world she'd invited into our home, the kind of men she thought were exciting. That night, I left her there, guarded by 2 of my people. She didn't argue. She just stared blankly as I walked out. The next few days moved fast. We tracked the man easily. He was sloppy, desperate. He made calls, tried to sell information about me. He even reached out to someone he thought would pay for my identity. We intercepted everything. Finally, I had him brought to a warehouse, nothing violent, nothing cinematic. Just quiet. We had a talk. I told him to disappear. He laughed at first, until I showed him a photo of the last person who tried to use my name for leverage. After that, he agreed. Quickly. He'd leave the city by sunrise. If he didn't, he'd regret it. When I came home that night, the house was silent again. She was still awake, sitting at the dining table. Her phone, once her weapon of choice, now sat face down beside her. She looked up at me. Is it over? For him, I said. But not for us. She swallowed hard. I don't expect forgiveness. I need to know if you're going to leave me. I stared at her for a long time. Leave you? I said softly. You already did that. Her eyes filled with tears. I was stupid. I didn't know what you were hiding, I didn't know any of this. That's the problem, I said. You never cared to know. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Do you know what it feels like, I said, to build something real with someone who only saw half of you? To share a bed with a stranger who's already dreaming of someone else? She looked away. I know. And I hate myself for it. I shook my head. You don't hate yourself. You hate getting caught. Her silence said everything. For the next few days, I stayed distant. She tried everything, cooking, calling, apologizing. But nothing worked. Because forgiveness isn't a gift, it's earned. And she wasn't willing to pay the price. Still, I watched her. Not because I loved her. But because I wanted to understand how far she'd fallen. One night, I found her sitting outside on the porch, crying quietly. I wish I could go back, she whispered. Before all this. Before I ruined it. I looked up at the stars. You can't unbreak something. You can only replace it. She turned to me, confused. Replace it? I nodded. You replaced me without hesitation. I just learned from the best. That was the last conversation we ever had in that house. The next morning, I packed my things and left before she woke up. No note. No goodbye. Just silence, the same silence she gave me that night she told me to sleep in the garage. Months passed. I bought a new place, smaller, quieter, high above the city. I spent my days working again, rebuilding the life I'd stepped away from. People in my line of work don't retire. We just vanish for a while. One afternoon, I got a message from an unknown number. It was her. I heard what happened to him. They said he disappeared. Was that you? I didn't reply. But she sent another. I'm sorry. I really am. I miss you. I stared at the words for a long time. Then deleted the messages. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that evening, the way she said it so casually. You're sleeping in the garage tonight. The arrogance in her voice. The way she looked at me like I didn't matter. That one sentence changed everything. But if she hadn't said it, I might never have known how blind I'd been. I might have kept living in that illusion, thinking loyalty meant something to her. So in a strange way, I was grateful. Because that night didn't destroy me. It exposed me. It reminded me who I really was. Not the man she thought she could control, but the man the world once feared. A few weeks later, I got another message. This time, not from her, from my contact. Your problem's solved, he wrote. He's gone. Completely. No details. No body. No trace. Just gone. I closed the phone, leaned back, and smiled faintly. Not because I was happy. But because it was over. And yet. Sometimes I wonder if she ever really understood what happened. If she ever realized how close she came to being collateral in a game she didn't even know existed. Maybe one day she'll figure it out, when she hears my name again. Not as the husband she betrayed. But as the man her lover should have never crossed. I still drive past that old house sometimes. It's empty now, sold to a new couple, full of hope and laughter. I wonder if they know the ghosts that live in those walls. The betrayal. The lies. The night that started it all. I keep a photo from those days, not of her, but of the garage. Because that's where it all began. The garage she thought was punishment turned out to be her undoing. Because when she sent me out there, she didn't realize she was sending me back into the world she could never survive in. And in that world, I don't forgive. I don't forget. And I don't sleep in the garage anymore.